Hi everyone, welcome back to the Curator's Shelf, and thanks for tuning in. So a little bit distracted here, I've got my cat here. Yeah, welcome back. My name is Nidia B and I do videos on items that I have on my shelf. As you can see, I have an eclectic mix from novels to historical fiction and tarot decks and so forth. So yeah, welcome back. So this week's topic, and I'm doing this video, I think this week, I'm going to have to say it on the fly. It's been a kind of like a week where, you know, it's been busy, I've been having to work on a few things, and then on top of that, where I live, we're going towards kind of like a lockdown, or places are shutting down again. It's just not an easy scenario, and one of the things that I've had to kind of like just cope again with that change. And you know, we've done lockdown once, but second time around it's never fun. So as we prepare for it, it's a bit kind of like okay, you know, like what do I need for this week, and how can I best cope with the changes. And you know, I have mentioned already on this channel sorry, the cat's cropping up again, but I have already mentioned on this channel that I sometimes work with oracle decks and tarot decks, and I just sometimes love the art. I think that's one of the biggest reasons why I like them so much. But sometimes I find an energy about them that's quite comforting, soothing. I find messages in there. This week, one of the decks that I work with is the Crow Tarot. And one of the fun things about this deck was that when I was working with this deck, I found that I was getting readings about an issue that I have been working on this week. And the reading, as I kind of like, you know, pulled out some cards, the reading actually told me, and I'm just going to show you some random cards now, but the reading actually showed to me that, you know, as I work through this issue and try and deal with it, the message that I was getting was to not pay attention too much to the fine details, to not worry too much, and to not overdo it, but rather to have quiet preparation, stand my ground, and just trust the energy of the archetypes, such as the Emperor. That's one of the cards that I got in my reading. And so as I worked with the Crow Tarot this week, I just really enjoyed the softness of the cards, the clarity. It's not hard work as a Rider-Waite-Smith deck. And here's the Emperor again, one of my favorite cards actually in this deck now. And I remember when I was doing a reading, a very small reading for myself. It's not something that I do very often. But as I was looking at it, one of the things that came up was, and it stood out for me, was these feathers around his, well, I think it's a male archetype, but the feathers around the neck of the crow. And what it reminded me of was, you know, that sometimes we earn our stripes. And that's how we own the territory that we're on. And something about standing my ground, and that's what I got from this card in this energy this week. But there's something about that collar that stood out to me. So yeah, I first of all wanted to just mention the Crow Tarot. I think you might be sick of me talking about this deck actually near the end of it, but I really love it. I think it's going to become one of my favorite decks, or one of my real go-to decks, and I'm forever grateful. The author is MJ Cullinan. She has actually produced some more decks, which are upon release very, very soon. She's produced a deck called Guardian of the Night, and there's another deck, the name's gone out of my mind, but she's got a couple of decks coming out, and they're indie decks, and I can't wait to just, you know, have the opportunity to order them. I'm in Europe, so we're gonna have to have them shipped over here, and right now is not brilliant time given the situation around the pandemic. But yeah, I cannot just say enough that this is a fantastic author and artist, and she's based in Seattle. And the other thing I just want to mention quickly is I've noticed that on her Facebook page that there are apparently copies or dupes, or basically fake ads running for this deck, and she has very clearly said that this is not her, and to just be careful when ordering the deck, and to just check it's from an authentic site that you're ordering from, her independent deck. So just a word of caution there. But I wanted to mention this deck because of the readings that it was giving me this week, and just how wonderful it was in terms of clarity. Okay, so that's the Crow Tarot. But I'm doing this this video on the fly, and another deck that I want to mention, sorry, I'm just going to come out the shot here, is, here we are again. And this is a beast of a box. It's by Rockwell Publishing. It's the Bohemian Animal Tarot. It's written by Scott Alexander King and illustrated by Sharon, I'm going to say this right, McLeod. Hopefully I've got it right. And this is a deck that I picked up on whim. There's a fantastic tarot tuber called Tubby Tarot, and he did a review and a walkthrough of this deck. I think he received it on his birthday, and it was just so good that I picked it up because I don't know why, but he was convincing me, give it a try. So I did. I went out and bought it. Now this cost me on the retail price around 20 euros. So you should be able to get, it's mass market deck, so you should be able to get it from Amazon or Book Depository and so forth. It's a very well produced in terms of its packaging, the box and so forth. This is the inside. It comes with a full guidebook, and this is one of the reasons why I mentioned the deck. I'm going to get to it in a minute. A full guidebook, and then I'll show you the cards now. Now the cards have been gilded, and sorry, I'll just get them out without damaging them. Now the cards do come gilded, and I know it's not something that everybody loves. It is quite shiny, thick gilding. I love it, but it's not for everyone. And then it does have this border, so if it's not for you, you can always take the border off and the gilding will come off. These are the back of the deck, the back of the cards. I mean, just absolutely exquisite. So this is another animal deck. Now what you have is the classic animals as humans. So animals in human clothing and so forth with human expressions. And except for maybe this one, which is what I can see, a mermaid, so she's semi-human. But a lot of these cards are they've got these, what I first thought was, well, is there an expression there? But then the more I looked, the more I could see that it's just a fantastic deck. Now, the reason why I want to mention this and why I picked it up this week was that because of the fact that we have gone into certain further measures because of the pandemic, I kind of needed a deck which, similar to the Crow energy, was soothing. And I know there are loads of videos done on hug decks, and I still don't know for me what is the hug deck, but I really liked turning to this deck this week, just to look at the images. I mean, I know it sounds really bizarre, but the images were soothing. And it took me a while to realize, and I don't know if we can see it on this camera, but it is, for me, pencil drawings. And so they reminded me of when I was a child and I had a bunch of pencils, coloring pencils, we call them in the UK. I think the Americans still call them crayons of some sort, but just being a kid and having my little bag of coloring pencils and running around with that and some books, to draw in. It kind of reminded me of that soothing energy of being young and allowing myself to just fill in those colors. And the more I saw it, the more it was very connecting for me. I also liked, I don't know if you can see it in the vibrance, is the vibrancy of the colors in this deck. So that really also was just very soothing, very soft colors. And because it's just done in a different way from the Crow Tarot, which is more of a collage, this is more pencil drawings, it was nice to have that contrast. So I stuck with animal energies for some reason this week, but two different decks, but giving me differences in terms of where one was more towards guidance that I needed in dealing with the situation. This was more just comforting, basically, for me to look at. And there's something about the frogs or the toads in this deck as well that remind me a little bit of Wind in the Willows. I don't know what it is, but I really like, look at that. Look at Mother of Earth. This deck also has some extra cards that you might not see in other tarot decks, and I'm going to try and find one for you if you just give me a moment. Now I can't see any of them, which is great. Oh, look at that star card. Sorry, I have to just stop here for a second. Look at that star card, and look at the beautiful purples and pinks in there. So soft, and soothing, and a unicorn, and I don't know, like I really like it. It's maybe not a deck for some. It's not always the prettiest of animals. That's what I want to say. Like if you look at this one, I think this is, yeah, well, this is a lion. It's a she lion, a female lion, and she's obviously with her pride. And then you've got the, I think it's a macaw. I've got to check in the back, but you know, I mean, she's not the prettiest of animals actually in this one, but I like it. I mean, I don't know why. I just love it. It's a very real animal deck for me in that sense. It reminds me of kids' books and the drawings from kids' books, but yeah, there's an animalistic energy that I really feel strongly coming through. Sorry, I should say that better. This is King of Fire, King of Wands, traditionally. And this is the carousel here again. Now, let me find for you one or two of the cards that you may not find always in a tarot deck. And I'm still trying to search for one. And they are, from what I recall, only in the major arcana. And one of them here. Now, also, sorry, just one thing to mention is I don't think she ever repeated an animal. So each card has its own animal. And I think that's great too. I mean, this card, the Lover's card, I find that very unusual. I mean, they're birds, but there's what looks like to me a reptilian kind of tail coming around, but it could be a different kind of bird tail as well. But anyway, again, just very interesting. And I really love the details of silhouettes in the background as well of that shop. So yeah, so I don't think she ever repeats an animal, which I like. Very few humans. There's a human there, unusually, in Consequences, which is Judgment. But there you can see again, she's reading for an animal. So there you go. What I'm trying to find here, though, is one of the cards. Here is one. Now, we have here number 22, which is the universe, and that's the cosmic egg. And I think that is just phenomenal. For me, what the background looks like is a bit of, I don't think it's meant to be, but it looks like a phoenix rising. But that is a cosmic egg, and I just think that's fantastic. So obviously the author has given a lot of thought and detail into what they wanted in terms of the cards that they wanted to include. And then the illustrator as well has gone into kind of like a depth, which is marrying, for me, animal energies with children's stories as well, and the use of that color pencil. So I'm going to stop going on about this deck, but I absolutely love it. The other thing I want to quickly mention, sorry, before I forget, is the guidebook. And the guidebook is just really, really in depth. Now, I think it's worth getting, like, I don't know if they sell the deck separately and the guidebook separately, but I think it's really worth getting them together, because the book goes into a lot of detail. Now, for example, this is the Rook, which is the tower. And you can see here that they will actually give a little information on the animal archetype, and this is going to be about ravens and crows, which is portrayed in the card. But then they actually give a card description, and then on top of it, you get kind of like some food for thought as the fool in the journey. They call it the innocence quest. So for me, the guidebook is also just phenomenal. And then, you know, here at the back, you've got keywords, and then you've got divinatory meanings. I mean, obviously the author has taken a lot of time to put content in, which is very helpful. And the last thing I want to mention is about this deck. I keep going on, but it's called Bohemian Animal Tarot, and the book alludes to it in the introduction. But Bohemia is what I know from my Czech contemporaries and friends and so forth. You know, it really is the previous name for what is now the Czech Republic, but I'm sure it covers slightly other territories as well, and it's not exact perhaps, but yeah, it's in reference to the areas around Prague, and that's where we get the word boho from. So it's kind of like a very specific period of time. I am traditionally a historian at heart. My background is a mixture of philosophy, political theory, and history. So for me, the history and the historical context, even of tarot decks, is really vital. I love it. And when I see something which is not correct, I actually get quite upset over it. So yeah, I have to be a bit careful there and let go a little bit. But I think the author and the illustrator have just done such a fantastic job. I really recommend it. So this is just kind of like a fly by the seat of my pants kind of video for today. I just thought I would just share with you what my week's been and how I've kind of like actively, I always talk about self-development and so forth, but how I actively do develop resilience by sitting with, a deck that I love or a book that I enjoy from when I was younger even, like I'm just going to pick it up now, but, we have Alice in Wonderland, a book that I read when I was a child. And sometimes it's just good for me personally to go back to books, or even I'm a huge fan of non-historical fiction as well. So this is Eleanor of Aquitaine by Alison Weir, a very famous book, one of Alison Weir's best books, I think, but I think she's done lots of good stuff, actually. I shouldn't say that, but I really enjoyed this. And of course it's talking about Eleanor of Aquitaine, so it was always good. It's always rich for me to read from the history of another country. But the reason why I'm just mentioning some of these items this week is because just sharing that sometimes when we have tough weeks, it's really good for me to personally practice the things that I talk about here. And this has definitely been one of those weeks. So I hope you enjoyed that. And if you found any of that helpful, I will put information on the decks that I mentioned again below. I hope this has been a good video for you. Thank you for watching.